Lesson 4, Video 4. In this segment, we're going to have a word of caution. We're going to talk about knowledge as a barrier, and we're going to address learning redefined. So for a word of caution, when we look at the relationship between facts, beliefs, and assumptions, we have to remember that facts are things that are known to be true. A belief is something that we believe to be true, and assumptions are unproven facts. We have to be clear not to get confused as we're trying to address our problems and potential opportunities. We also need to be mindful that there is a relationship between the amount of ideas, information, and suggestions that we receive are balanced against the objectives of what we're trying to accomplish. As we think about these barriers that potentially are in front of us, we have to be able to get organized. Things that we have to get, things like what we heard Ted talking about in First Things First. You can't go ahead and do your work unless you have a license. And so why would you bother with any of the other secondary or tertiary things? You have to have the facts. You have to know how much is it really going to cost. As he described, the idea of not having to have $2 million in cash, but rather an insurance policy that may cost just a couple of $100s for $2 million worth of coverage is really the cost factor you might have to deal with. And don't be afraid to learn what you need to know to be successful. Because as we go through, this pursuit of knowledge is something that is an ongoing event. We learn, hopefully, something new every day. When we think about the potential outcomes of any situation, it really boils down to a yes or a no. Susan Cabrera was very clear in trying to describe that situation. And unfortunately, some people try to give you the, well, maybe, or let me think about it. Time is your worst enemy in that situation. Frankly, you should be just thinking about, just give me a yes or a no, and deal with whichever comes. We also have to have priorities. We have to be able to do the right things in the right order. Make a list. Work the list. And it's a constant gathering of information and knowledge as we try to feed our brains with the know-how and the correct facts associated with our venture. A couple of questions that might help us along the way. Serena applied for a job and many jobs well beyond her capabilities. And what purpose did that serve? I think easily she was able to put together what are the requirements? What are people looking for? What are the basic skills that are expected for that particular role? Why would a job at McDonald's help prepare you? There was an interesting story I heard recently talking about a famous restaurant area in the area, Winstead's, and it was taken over by a man named Nabil Haddad. And he got his start as an immigrant coming from Syria to be able to work in a McDonald's, and he learned the hamburger business. When you work with people, and that's ultimately what this is going to be about, you're getting the skills necessary to build those relationships and to have that interpersonal connectivity. How does an internship help? Internships give you the inside track to understanding how a business really operates. And what about school? How does that help you get where you want to go? A couple of ways. First, you get solid information and knowledge. You learn. You potentially even have hands-on depending upon the type of school you're in. But you also then start to get relationships. You start learning to work as a team. You start to be able to interact with other people. You may also be able to relate to your professors or teachers in getting the information and knowing, maybe to meet with some of the people that they know. And what about reflection? Why is reflection so important? We have to take the time after the fact to be able to assess what happened, how well did it go. One of the things that we saw in that ready, fire, aim scenario was you make ready, you do the task, and then you continue to aim. The purpose of that aim was to ask yourself the question, how well did I do? Was I truly on target? If I was, fantastic, I could repeat the process. If I wasn't, how do I change in order to make it more effective and more appealing? Entrepreneurs are going to go after information, and they're going to get all kinds of informal information. They go to conferences, they talk to people, they learn, they try to find an advisor or a mentor. When they need a class, they'll get it. They will enroll. They will understand some of the technical aspects of what the job is about. They'll talk to people, and they will see and they will learn from that observation how they are comparing themselves to the environment they're in and want to compete in. They will also experiment and adapt. The experimentation is this proof of concept, and the adaptation is how you change yourself or your process to be able to be more consistent and in line with what the ultimate consumer wants. So as we look back at this entrepreneurial engine, we have that relationship between knowledge and effort. But notice now the inclusion of reflection, because with this reflection and how it plays a role in our development is allowing us to be able to see and to think about what we're trying to do and how well it meets our customers' needs. Let's break for another discussion.